wanted to share with you all the latest product that my research department has put out, and it's called the PRD Green Guide and Green Housing Scorecard Residential Real Estate 2018. Just to give you all a bit of a background, so PRD nationwide, I do represent a group of real estate agents across the whole of Australia. As a disclaimer, I'm not a real estate agent myself, so I don't actually have anything to sell or anything to, commission-wise. I head up the National Research Department, which means that my job is to really look into issues that are impacting the property industry in Australia. Which is why today, instead of talking about the real estate aspect of property, I really want to talk about the research that has gotten us to be able to produce the Green Guide and the Green Housing Scorecard. And this particular research was titled Improving Information, Gathering and Distribution for Sustainability Homes. And it's actually, the journey of it is that it was a 3-year research project under the Australia Research Council umbrella. It's called the Sustainable Housing. Like it says here, it's backed by and supported by the Australian federal government. We are the only real estate residential franchise network that is involved in this particular research. I've had 2 PhD students work on this particular research to look into how sustainable information and as well as sustainability issues are being considered by real estate agents and the property industry in Australia. So we've got 2 PhD students there who is now, thankfully, have finished all of their studies. These are our research partners. So like I said, we partnered with the federal government, we partnered with a couple of universities, so Queensland University in Australia, Karlsruhe University in Germany. We have partnered also with a couple of developers, those in the electrical industry, those in the building and construction industry. As you can see there, those are just some of our partners. And why did we do this? Why did we actually do this particular research? Now, the one thing that was really driving the reason behind it is that the value of sustainability is still ambiguous in Australian residential property. What is actually the value of having, say, a solar panel? Or what is the value of having a water tank? What is the value of having green features in your house? There is some anecdotal evidence that yes, you can save on utility bills and maybe you might save on your electricity bills, and that over time you might save a certain amount. However, what we're finding in the real estate industry is that our home buyers weren't buying that, and our real estate agents weren't really pushing that. And for those of you who know, when it comes to property transactions, sometimes your first home buyers, they don't come to your developers, they don't come to the builders, they don't come to the construction workers, they come to their real estate agents. They come to the real estate agents and say, okay, I'm about to buy, potentially 3 different properties. Which of these properties are going to not save on utility bills, not save on anything of those sorts? Which of those are going to have the higher resale value? If I buy that house, what's my capital growth? What's my potential rental yield? How much money am I going to make on this? And if I plan to sell that in the next 5, 10, or maybe 7 years, is it going to be easy to sell? Is it going to go for a quicker, less days on the market? Those are the sort of questions that us real estate agents get asked by all of our buyers, our investors, day in, day out. And at the moment, there is really hidden or untapped potential that is sometimes not known when it comes to sustainable or green features. So like I said, there is an absence of an easy-to-use tool where people can actually think outside the box and they can actually figure out what is the value of sustainable homes. I won't go through a lot of the literature behind this just due to time, but I will go into, when it comes to residential property in terms of sustainable housing, there is some evidence that it's good for property, as in like for first home buyers, for our investors, but those sort of features and those sort of benefits are not really well documented. So why real estate agents? I've said that before, because they are usually the main conduit of information. When a person buys a home, and particularly in Australia, and please correct me for New Zealand, they go to realestate.com.au. They look at the ads about that particular house. What are the features of those houses? What is the price of that house? What is the rental yield of that house? And those ads are written by real estate agents and their copyrights, but mostly by the real estate agents themselves. Now, before I go into that, the preliminary methodology of what we did is my team and we looked at the first 1,000 houses that we could see on realestate.com.au for Brisbane, Melbourne, and Sydney. And what we tried to do was table how many of those ads actually write about solar panel or green water system or, grey water system or even energy efficiency. And my team struggled to be able to actually categorize and check the boxes to say that those ads have those features in it, right? And what we wanted to do is we wanted to be able to say, okay, so for houses that do have sustainable features, how much are they actually selling for, and is it higher than the median price of the suburb in which they're located in for houses that have a similar land area, so like the land size, a similar number of bedrooms, a similar number of bathrooms. That was what we wanted to do. That was like our first round of information gathering. And we did get some good results, but we said that this was preliminary because when we looked at those ads, a lot of the ads don't even talk about these sustainable features. And so we talked to the real estate agents. We said, why didn't you include the fact that this house has a solar panel, or that it has, you know, a 5-star energy rating, or that it has high energy efficiency? And the feedback that we got was, well, what's the point? Is it going to actually get people to click on those homes and get us listings? How do we convince our home buyers that, yes, it will be good for them to buy sustainable homes? So, like I said, there's limited information. So we worked with very, very limited information, and that's one of the reasons why we jumped into the ARC. Like I said, we did see some higher pricing, but it was unconfirmed because, again, there's not enough information. And so the ARC linkage looked at 215 houses sold multiple times between 2004 to 2014 in Kelso, which is a suburb in Townsville. Now, this is a very focused case study, and for those of you who've been involved in ARC linkages before, you do need a government partner that will allow you access into all of their detailed records of what a home has and the plans and things like that. And at this time around, it was the Townsville City Government that was willing, they were allowing us to go into their databases to actually pull out all of the information that we needed. So that in itself already actually tells you that a lot of councils are very protective of their housing data, and we actually went through a lot of hoops to even be able to convince Townsville City Council to let us into their database. The next thing that we did was we did a national survey on real estate agents and property professionals across Australia. We had about 500 odd respondents. 53% of them were real estate agents, 18% were property valuers, and 29% were mortgage brokers. So, you know, it was quite an extensive piece of research there. What are some of our key findings? These are some of our key findings. These are challenges that everyone in the property industry that we spoke to actually talked about. Lack of information about sustainability features. A lot of the real estate agents that we talked to didn't even know or couldn't even tell us what is considered to be a sustainability feature, or other than solar panels and grey water tank systems. Now, we all know, everyone in this room knows that sustainability goes beyond that. We've talked about design, we've talked about materials, we've talked about airflow, we've talked about insulation. So we know that it's more than just the solar panels and also the water tanks. There's a lack of data about economic benefits. And when we talk about economic benefits, they talk about real economic benefits, not just anecdotal evidence of potentially utility savings of however many X dollars over however many X years. Time and cost challenges in collecting information. So it is actually a time and cost thing for real estate agents to be able to collect all of this information and put it into their ads. And also there's been lack of demand of sustainable housing. My real estate agents on the ground are telling me, Asti, you're telling me to sell sustainable housing, but when I speak to my buyers, not a lot of them actually ask me, do you have a sustainable home available to purchase? So that was one of the other, challenges that we're facing. Here are some of the responses. So for real estate agents, 93.5% of the agents mentioned that they would include these features if they knew that there were real economic benefits. Now, for real estate agents, when it comes to real economic benefits, it's whether the home is going to sell for quicker, whether it's going to sell for higher, because obviously we work on commission. So I said we. I mean my real estate agents work on commission, right? And so they really want to know whether those economic benefits exist. Mortgage brokers mentioned that they're not interested in sustainability features. These were the mortgage brokers that we talked to. And the reason why, they said, well, what's the point? How is it going to benefit us? Property valuers, 80% of them stated that they're willing to include, and 20% of valuers indicated that the considered star rating information is not suitable and efficient for every climate. So what were the key findings? When we actually combined the data between the preliminary as well as the ARC linkage and averaged it out, we were able to actually say to the market that houses with sustainability features had a 10% improvement in price, aka they sell for 10% higher than the median price of their suburb. That got the attention of my real estate agents. And then when we were able to prove that they actually sold for 13 days less, bing, 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 bing. It was like I hit a gold mine. Suddenly I was flooded with emails saying, can you show us? Can you, put this into something that we can then put in our ads or something like that? Right? So generally, it would be expected that houses with cheaper prices are the ones that are going to sell faster, but we were able to prove the other way, because obviously houses with sustainable features can sometimes cost more. So that increased the willingness of our real estate agents to modify some of their business practices, right? which is a really good thing. And now then our job is to figure out, okay, how do we get this information out into everybody? Which is why we created the PRD Nationwide Green Guide. So the PRD Nationwide Green Guide basically just encapsulates all of the research that we did over the past 3 years and kind of zumped it into a 10-page document. It identifies some sustainability features because we wanted to expand people's understanding of what sustainable features are. We put up all of these top 7 benefits that then became a marketing campaign that a lot of the real estate agents, the PRD Nationwide real estate agents then use. Things like higher median price, higher resale value, more savings on utility, less days on the market, things like that. We looked at all of these categories, so that's spatial planning, operation services, building durability, because we wanted to expand what sustainability is, so that's part of our education tool. And we then also talked about industry stakeholders and who can play a part. And if you look here, we've actually identified what councils can do: real estate agents, architect, builder, lot owner or occupant, valuer, financier, and also developer. So this particular document got quite a lot of kudos because even though we're real estate agents, or PRD Nationwide is a real estate agent franchise, we were actually able to identify what is everyone in the property industry can do to address the issue of sustainable homes. And then we took it a bit further. We then created the PRD Nationwide Green Housing Scorecard. Now this scorecard pretty much asks, how green is your house? It's 37 questions, yes or no, although the algorithm behind it is actually quite rigorous to kind of balance out what yes or no means. And here are a couple of questions. Is there adjoining or direct entries, exit from internal rooms to the yard or outside? Are the doorways to the bathroom toilets at least 820 millimeters wide to reduce the chance of injury? I'm just putting those up there to show you that parts of our green housing scorecard is not just about, do you have a solar panel or do you have a grey water tank system? At the end of it, once you have answered all of the 37 questions, you get this little percentage and illustration to show you how far along are you in getting a green home. Perhaps you're at 35%, perhaps you're at 42%, or you might be at 75%. Right? Now, it gives end users a choice, because at the end of the housing scorecard, it actually tells you which areas did you say no to. And it gives you a choice whether or not you want to improve on those features. It does have a multiple target audience in the sense that it's not threatening. I have had people who know nothing about the property industry, but they are homeowners to do it themselves. And they're actually able to follow it, and they're not intimidated by it because the jargon inside it is not too technical. It's highly commercial and relevant in the sense that it is backed by rigorous research, but it can be used by anyone who owns a home or is thinking of buying a home or is in the property industry. Application, we've had our agents actually use the whole guide and the whole scorecard to say to their developers, follow this guide because I want 100% green home. I've had clients who come out who uses the guide and say to their architects, follow this guide or follow this scorecard so that I can tick yes because I want a green home. They use it, like I said, as marketing campaigns. There's anecdotal evidence, some of my clients choosing not to buy a particular house because once they've done the 37 questions, it scored below what they would like it to be. I've had clients who purchase houses because once they have done the scorecard, it scored 80% or 90% and they love it. Right? The scorecard has been used by some people from all of these countries, so it can be used worldwide, and up to date it's been taken, as of yesterday, 1,668 times. So the reach of this particular scorecard is quite wide. These are just some of our other research outputs in terms of where we've actually shared this particular knowledge. But I think the main thing that I want to really drive home here is that there is that untapped benefit or economic benefit of sustainable homes that up to now, there's no real research that's been able to put a figure or been able to convince real estate agents to actually consider having these sort of features in their ads or even talk about it to their first home buyers or investors or owner occupiers or what have you. But now what we're seeing is that that is what they're doing. And the reason behind it is because this has been able to prove to them that yes, it's not just good for the, sort of like your health benefits and things like that, because at the end of the day, I'm one to admit that my real estate agents are driven by that whole, bottom line profit and all that kind of stuff. And because we've been able to prove this, now we have them on board. Thank you.
Let's just try and sum that up. I mean, is the affordability factor still, where do you put that balance? Where do you see it going in terms of this emphasis on the green star or the green rating you're given? What's the end point here?
So, I understand where you're going here, because it does cost more to build, a sustainable or a green house. But the argument that we're putting is that, yes, it does cost more, but the end game is that it will also return more. That's kind of where we're going with this. And that's how we've been able to convince the market. And particularly for us, it was really important to convince real estate agents that they need to really pay attention to it, and that they need to have it on a day-to-day conversations with their buyers, investors, etc. Because at the end of the day, if the real estate agents aren't convinced and they're not talking about it to their buyers, then you're losing that person who is actually, talking on a day-to-day basis with buyers, because they're the ones that are seeing where the demand is coming from.
Are you facing competition? Are other real estate agents, companies doing the same thing? Are you finding that there's the momentum building there?
It is definitely building up, but this is the first of its kind that is created by real estate agents for the whole of the property industry. So that's been our competitive edge. And the fact that it's backed by, 4 years odd of research does give it a bit more credibility.
A question asked here, are you tracking how many people are using the scorecard and what the results have been?
Yes, definitely. So like I said, at the moment, about 1,668 users have used it. We're actually collating all of the data in terms of their thoughts and feedback on it. This is a 1.0 version, so there will be a 2.0 version based on people's feedback of the scorecard as well.
And this one asks, home buyers might be asking for sustainable features unknowingly. Did the survey questions ask what were the top 10 features they wanted?
We didn't have the chance to actually, to ask home buyers. So we asked them from a real estate agent perspective, where we asked, did your home buyers ask for any of these A, B, C, D sustainability features? And the answers that was given to us was mixed. Some of them said no. Some of them said yes, and some of them said our buyers weren't even aware that those are sustainability features.
And this one asks, is the next part of the research to interview the purchasers of these sustainable homes to review their use and performance?
Yes, definitely. We're actually working on another ARC linkage application at the moment, where we wanted to look at what is the balance between a triangle of affordability, sustainability, and livability. And so definitely we will be asking home purchasers, particularly those that have purchased sustainable homes, and the market in general. Yeah.
And perhaps one more here.
Sure.
It asks, what about the wider environment? A green home nowhere near transport links or part of a compact development isn't necessarily that sustainable.
And that's another one that we're looking into. Again, it's that triangle between affordability, livability, and sustainability, because we are finding that some of the sustainable homes are not actually near a transport node, or it's not near, a Westfield. Sorry, do you guys have Westfield here? No,
yep.
A Westfield. Sorry, a Westfield or a school or anything like that. And so that's another one where we are looking into to what extent do people have to they have to sacrifice between sustainability and livability, or sustainability and affordability. So that's something that we're definitely working on in our next ARC linkage.
Dr. Daiswati, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate
Thank
it very
you.
much. Fascinating insights.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just leave it there.